Happy Merge Day. Is that a thing? Is this a thing we're saying now? We're celebrating the Ethereum Merge Day? I guess so. So happy Merge Day to y'all. Happy Cinco de Merjo. Exciting stuff. This is probably one of the biggest updates to a chain that we've seen in crypto. So, I mean, this is definitely a major event. Something obviously a lot of people have been talking about for the last couple months. Are we bullish into the merge? Are we selling the news? Blah, 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 blah. I had an interesting interaction with someone on Twitter. He asked, why am I not talking about the merge? Why am I not talking about the macro? All I do is look at the charts. And why do I not take into account any of that other shit? You guys have been watching me for a long time. You know that I make my decisions based on the charts. I'm a technical trader. I make my decisions purely based on the charts. It doesn't mean I ignore macro. I talk about macro every video, the stock market, the economy, things like that. Let's assume for a second, just speaking about the merge in a vacuum. Let's say you're super bullish on the merge and you think Ethereum is going to 2x in price post-merge. That does not give you a trade. It gives you a bias, perhaps. I want to be long Ethereum, but that's not a trade. What happens if you're super bullish into the merge, so you just buy a shitload of Ethereum and something goes wrong in the merge, which could happen. And let's say that happens and then price starts nuking. What do you do with all that Ethereum you bought? Do you just sell it at whatever price? Do you have an invalidation? All of these things that you need to know to actually make an educated investment in a decision requires the chart. Let's say you bought Ethereum here because you're like, the merge is super bullish. You just bought like a bunch of Ethereum here because you think it's going to go to here. What happens if it starts doing this? Are you holding? Are you holding? Are you holding? At what point were you wrong about your macro thesis on the merge and just the price itself? That requires TA. Maybe you're bullish on the merge, but you're like, you know what? But if we go below here, because maybe something goes wrong or people just sell the news, I'm exiting, right? You still got to have a plan. So it's not that I don't pay attention to things like the merge and macro or anything like that, but all my decisions are based on the chart. All that other stuff just gives me a narrative. It gives me potentially a bias. It's part of the trade plan. It's not the trade plan. The trade plan is based on the chart. One item of my trade plan, I always talk about that checklist, right? Bias, right? Order flow, price action, all of these things, risk, all of these things that you need to tick off. To me, the whole macro bucket fits under here. Macro news, right? Okay, if I'm taking a weekly trade on the S&P 500 and I'm macro bearish on stocks because of the Fed, that goes into this, which leads into this. This, my bias might be for downside. Same if it's the merge, right? If I'm thinking about the merge and I'm bullish on the merge, okay, my bias on Ethereum is bullish. Now I got to go make sure all these things which are part of the chart line up with the bias, because all of these things have to be ticked off and aligned before I even enter the trade. Whether you are bullish or bearish on the merge, that's up to you. I don't know. Do your own research, make your own decision. But for me, my decision is still based on the chart. Where I'm getting in, where I'm targeting, where my idea is wrong, that's all still based on the chart. It's irrelevant of news. You're going to hear a lot of people argue about whether things are priced in. Does news happen and then the chart reflects it, or does the chart have it already in there and then when the news happens it was already baked in the cake? I think that's a cyclical argument, right? You can make arguments on both sides, and I don't think there's one right answer where you can say, no, I'm right every time, and the other person can think they're right every time too. I'm of the mindset that most things are already in the chart. News introduces volatility. I do think things like macro and things like the merge, I do think, yeah, they can have an immediate impact on price. Like if something goes wrong with the merger, there's a good chance Ethereum dumps. If the merge goes successful, there's a good chance that we go up. But I don't believe that the merger happening isn't already priced in some way, shape, or form. Ethereum went up 100% off the lows. 100% off the lows. Like now, 87% from the low. Now it went up over 100%. So to me, this has to be some pricing in of people being bullish on the merger. Is there going to be a sell the news type of event? All that kind of shit? I don't really care. I don't think like that. Doesn't mean that there's not a strategy there that you can sell news events or you can be plugged in, waiting for the CPI numbers to come out and try and find a trade. You guys know me. I just trade the chart. If it's bullish, I'm looking for longs. If it's bearish, I'm looking for shorts. I try to make my trading as uncomplicated as possible, and I try and have as little inputs as possible. That's why I don't like all sorts of indicators, and I don't look at order flow. I don't look at funding. I don't look at heat maps. I don't look at any of that shit. I'm not saying that there isn't value there. It's just not something I use. What I do works for me already, so I'm not trying to overcomplicate my system, which I already believe is quite simple.